Hi there, and welcome to another interview of Mastery Path Connections. I'm Debra Sofia Magdalene, and it's my pleasure today to be interviewing my dear friend Julie Bryant, who's the creator of Naked Dragon Events. So Julie, we're talking about being a nomad and creating an income. Can you tell me how your journey started? Well, first of all, how old were you when you started travelling? How old are you now? And how your journey sort of progressed?
Okay, well, I'm now 56, and I feel as though I've been travelling my entire life, really. From the age of about 5, when I first packed my bag and wandered off up the back lane and leaving home.
Started young.
With a stick over my shoulder and the old handkerchief tied on the end. So I guess I've always had a gypsy soul, a gypsy spirit. When my daughter was younger, we did a lot of holidaying, actually, rather than travelling. But I actually started travelling in earnest back in 2008, I suppose, when I'd been working in the Middle East and my contract had come to an end. And that was the first time I actually went off backpacking and what I would call proper travelling. So I started off in Thailand and travelled all around Southeast Asia. So that was in 2008.
So at that stage of 2008, did you have your own home, or what did you do?
No.
About home and belongings?
At that point, I was renting in Dubai, and when my contract finished, I gave up my rental property and I just went off travelling. And then when I came back to the UK, about 6 months later, I started renting, and I rented then for the next 5 years. So I did actually base myself in the UK for 5 years. So that took me up until 2017, until 2014, 2015. And I was offered the opportunity to go and help out or help create a retreat centre in Sri Lanka. So at that point, I effectively made myself home free. The second time in my life, actually, because I'd already done it once in 2005 when I first went out to Dubai. I went through that whole process of giving up my property, giving away my possessions, selling a few bits and pieces, and travelling light. So when I went out to Dubai, I had no home in the UK, and I had very few possessions.
So with the possessions that you had, what did you do with them?
I gave them away. Yeah, mainly.
No, but the things that you kept?
The things that I kept, I only kept a sort of small attic, not even a small attic full, just a small little tiny van full, actually. So my stuff went back to my long-suffering parents in and so my stuff was there whilst I was in Dubai, but there was very, very little, just a few pieces of kitchen equipment and some clothes and a few personal effects, really. And then when I came back to the UK and I set up home, I rented a little place on the river, which was lovely, in the River Thames. And so I took my stuff back from my parents, and as we do when we nest build, I started collecting again.
Oh yeah, easy to do.
Very easy to do. So over the 5 years, I started collecting more furniture again and more bits and pieces. So 5 years later, when I was offered this opportunity to go and work in Sri Lanka, again I had this time it was a relatively small house, but I still had more stuff again. So for the second time in my life, I went through the process of letting go, giving it away, and then I was free. I was free to travel, and that's what I did. So I went out to Sri Lanka. That particular project didn't work out for a number of different reasons. So again, I'd made myself home free. But during that time in between, I'd started making contact with lots of other digital nomads and house sitters and pet sitters. I'd already had some pet sitters for a number of years in the UK, on a casual basis with friends.
Yeah.
So I'd already had experience of it. But talking to these fellow house sitters, it really generated my interest in becoming a full-time international pet sitter. Because, as I've mentioned, I had the travel bugs since I was a child. So it's looking for different ways to sustain this lifestyle that I'd embarked on, partly through choice, partly through circumstance. And I loved it. So I started reaching out to find different ways to be able to support my lifestyle. And I learned a lot from fellow house sitters.
Can you give us some of those nuggets that you learned from fellow house sitters in terms of generating an income whilst you're travelling?
Okay, well, there's many different ways to generate an income while you're travelling. One of the most popular ways is to set up an online business. And that online business can either be selling products or it can be selling services. And there's also affiliate schemes. Now, many of my fellow house sitters have set up affiliate schemes, and so they collaborate with lots of other, very often it's lots of other people actually within the house sitting world who have products to sell and training courses to sell, and they help to promote these other people's work, and they make a small commission off the back. But all of these small commissions start to add up. And if you're a careful budgeter, it is possible to be travelling the world on a very small budget. I know a couple of friends of mine who've been travelling the world now full time for the last 5 years, and they've been living, the two of them have been living on less than £500 a month between them, and that's included all of their airfare. And they've been travelling from places like
it's amazing what you can do.
It's fantastic. Yes. So it really calls upon when you put yourself in this situation, it really calls upon your creativity as to how to make things work. You need to be very adaptable and very flexible, and just to be open. It's also possible to perhaps earn some money on the ground. That's not so common, but there are ways that you can do that. And one of the ways that you can do it, because very often as house and pet sitters, we are living in an expat community, like we are now here in Turkey. There's something like 60% expats, mainly British, living in this part of rural Turkey. Now, if we chose to, we could perhaps reach out to the community. So that's another thing to do when you're travelling, is to join Facebook groups for the local community, and then reach out and introduce yourself to the community, and then maybe start offering talks or workshops on things that you want to share, whether it's how to set up, become a solo house sitter, or how to create an online income, or you do a lot of work with your essential oils, so set up a workshop to teach people how to use essential oils.
So there's many different things that we can do. What do you do specifically, to sustain yourself?
I have a slightly different approach to that, in as much that at the moment, because Naked Jug is an events company which I've been running for the last 7 years, 6 years actually, 6 years this year, and my events are still sort of location based, which means at the moment that I have to keep coming back to either the UK or to other parts of Europe where perhaps I may be organising a retreat. So this year, for instance, I've got 4 events on the calendar for the UK. So I spend my time when I'm travelling doing all the networking, the marketing, the promotion, running the website. So I'm mainly digital, but at the moment I have to physically be there to host the events.
So that's another great way that you can do this. It's like hopping.
You can hop around.
From one place to another in order to return, to generate an income and then sustain yourself.
Absolutely. And there's never a case of one size fits all. Some people may choose to come back to their home country and perhaps work for 3 or 4 months. Perhaps they'll have a house sit or stay with friends, and they'll get a job, perhaps for 3 or 4 months, just to earn an income to allow them to continue to travel.
One of the questions that I've got on my list is what's a highlight of you changing your lifestyle to have this digital nomad lifestyle?
I feel as though I'm finally being true to me, because having always had this kind of restless spirit, living within a conventional lifestyle never felt completely true to me. I felt as though a lot of my life has been living in compromise, and I appreciate that perhaps when you get married and have children, at that time I was still buying into the conventional way of living as a married couple with a child. now, actually, if I became a parent now, I wouldn't even be buying into the conventional lifestyle as a young mother.
Yeah.
I would still travel with my child.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was a bridge too far. That hadn't actually entered into my mindset at all. So I guess the nugget really for me has been to learn to trust myself first and foremost, to trust my decisions, and to trust that a door will always open. Because when you choose this lifestyle, sometimes you can feel you're living a little bit on the edge.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Very much so. So you don't always know where you're going to be staying next week or next month. And just trusting a door will open to lead you to the next place to stay.
Yeah.
And it does happen. But sometimes it gets a little bit, woo.
And what about challenges? What's like a main challenge that you face, and how have you overcome that?
I think for me the main challenge, and it's become less and less actually the more that I've been travelling on my own and house sitting, but certainly within the first year or so, the biggest challenge was from time to time a feeling of loneliness. And what I mean by that, because of my work, particularly with the events, and being a natural networker, I'm used to reaching out and being with lots of people. So even though I love my own space, I love being and living on my own, equally I also enjoy reaching out and being within a community. So I like to.
You're very sociable, aren't you?
I am very sociable. So I like to use the expression, use it hop in, hop out. I like to do that with my sort of networking and meeting people. But there are times where I found myself in situations, not even necessarily in a rural place. So to give you an example, I was on an island in Indonesia, and I'd had an accident on my bike. I'd been cycling through this forest just as it was getting dark. There's a bit of a long story with this, but the bottom line was I hadn't seen this barbed wire as I crossed from one path to the next. And the next thing I knew, I was flat on my face as it was getting darker, with barbed wire wrapped around my ankle, barbed wire wrapped around my bike.
Oh dear.
And it was getting darker and darker by the second. Because what happened was I pushed my bike across these two cars, and my face had hit this huge spider's web. Oh! So I'd gone to fall backwards to get away from the spider's web, and as I'd done that, the bike had pushed forward and pulled me with it, and I got tangled up in this barbed wire. So by the time I'd untangled myself and got myself through this forest on my own in rapidly approaching darkness and back to my digs where I was staying, I was feeling a little bit out of my comfort zone, to say the least, because I managed to unwrap the barbed wire from around my ankle, and I was bleeding, and I didn't know about tetanus, and all kinds of fears came up for me on a health basis, really. And what got me through that was I hadn't really got to know anybody in the local area at that point. I hadn't been there very long. And so I had nobody really to reach out to locally. And because I prefer, if I can, to take a natural approach to healing, I reached out on Facebook. So for me, in a way, Facebook has been a godsend, in as much that I feel as though very often I'm traveling with a whole group of merry men, and that when I've needed support, I've been able to reach out. And it's amazing how many people come forward, and they offer you advice, bring you comfort and support, and it's made a big difference. Yeah.
So would you recommend this lifestyle to other people?
Well, I love it, so yes, I would 100% recommend it.
And what tips have you got if somebody's thinking of taking the plunge?
Go for it. Do a little bit of go for it. Yeah. If I can do it and work through my fears, because in fact that's one of the big things that's come out of this traveling, is that my fear. I didn't realize just how anxious and fearful I used to get about things until I suddenly found myself on my own completely in the world and in some really strange situations. And then I really was tested, and as time has gone on, my fear boundary has sort of extended and extended and extended and extended. And as that happens, then I learn more about myself. And it's been just an incredible, amazing journey. And the fears are going. Yeah, every day I face something new. And when you keep stepping through those fear boundaries, they're self-imposed, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you do, you feel amazing at the end.
It's liberating.
Oh, it's hugely liberating.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say the number one thing is that you've learnt about yourself?
But I'm stronger than I thought I was.
Good answer.
Yes. Yeah.
It does make you very strong within this lifestyle.
Yes. Or it helps you to tap into your revenues of inner strength.
Yeah.
And to realise that actually, as lovely as it is to have the support out there, that the real strength comes from within.
Yeah. Thank you. Where can people find out more about you, Julie?
Okay. Well, at the moment, probably the best bet is either Facebook. Usually quite easily found.
Very active on Facebook.
So that's just Julie Bryant on Facebook. And also through my website, which is www.nakeddragon, all one word, 2 Ds in the middle, .co.uk.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today with this interview, and also for inviting me on this fabulous house sit in Turkey. It's been so much fun spending time with you, getting to know you better. And, we've had this shared experience in Turkey where, we're both going through a lot of personal growth. We're mirrors for each other.
We are. Yeah, it's been quite an experience, hasn't it?
Yeah. And one thing I love about having, this nomadic lifestyle is that you can team up with other house sitters.
Yes.
And this one in particular, has been good because we've got how many dogs and cats and chickens are we looking after?
We've got 5 dogs, 6 cats, 20 chickens, a house, a car, a garden, a pool. I think it would have been quite tough going just to one person.
It would, yeah. And it's actually we're in a remote location as well.
Yes, we're
and some of the challenges that we've experienced, like no water for a while, electricity going off, no Wi-Fi,
gas
running out, and things like that.
Yes.
It's always a lot easier when you're with somebody else with these challenges.
Absolutely.
But this is the first time that I've experienced challenges like this.
Yes.
So it's just really cool that we've been together, and that also we've got support from neighbours. And what you said about reaching out to community is something that I'd recommend to everybody.
Yeah.
So if you are going house and pet sitting, make sure that you've got contact numbers of who you can contact in an emergency. And also the environmental threats as well.
Oh gosh, yes. And it does help a lot to be aware of what they are, and to potentially be prepared, really.
Yeah.
It's worth asking that question.
And not just for your own safety, but also the safety of the pets that you're looking after. Then, and if anything does happen, it's like forearmed is forewarned is forearmed.
Absolutely. The more information you can get in advance when you're taking on a house sit, especially if you go into a country that you've not been to before, just get as much information as you possibly can from the house owner.
All right, well, we'll call it a day. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you,
look forward to spending even more time with you, for the remainder of our house sit. And let's see what happens from here.
Yes, see what happens in the future.
Okay, so bye everybody.